Aloha, beautifuls. Welcome to the Woman Unleashed online retreat. My name is Amber Quile Mailani Benici, and I am your retreat guide today, as well as our beloved Beth Weinstein, who is here as well.
Oh,
Today is about purpose. It's about tapping into why you're really here. Yeah. And so I'm excited to jump into that, get started, dive in because I just know the conversation. I remember living the conversation for so many years. Why am I here? Just tell me, God, Spirit, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. So I'll do it, right? But of course it didn't work out that way. But I know that there is so much wanting to know what to do or how to do it, or that feeling of being on purpose. So that's what we're exploring today. Yeah. For today's session, just have your Woman Unleashed journal, have your journal with you, pen, if you want to have your coloring pencils or goodies, you can have that as well for our session. And an open heart. That's bring an open heart. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yes, we're going to bring an open heart. So let's also get present and take our 3 breaths so that we can really be here to open our heart to receive what we need to receive, the message that you need to hear today. So if you're with me, just close your eyes for a moment and noticing anything that's been lingering, any energy from earlier that you're carrying right now. Inhale in, exhale and release. Noticing if there's anything to come that's on your mind that you're worried about in the future. Inhaling in, exhale and release. And third and final breath, smelling this moment together. Inhaling in. And exhale and release. When you're ready to open your eyes. Oh, maybe you can hear my bird too. Can you hear my bird?
I can.
Going, tweet, tweet. I'm like, be present. Hear the bird. Tweet, tweet. I'm like, that's perfect. Blue, our bird, is calling you into presence today. Okay, so Beth, let me tell you a little bit about Beth, our session guide today. So Beth, she's a transformational business coach, and she helps people align with their purpose and grow their business, right? So here's the thing, when you're aligned with your purpose, everything just goes so much smoother, right? It's instead of efforting, there's less of that needs to happen because you're aligned. Yeah. So Beth isn't your traditional business coach. She's cool. I checked her out. She does she's meditation. She does all sorts of different things. She helps people move past their fears and their blocks and gets them unstuck, because that's really when anyone's aligned with their purpose or growing a business. What's going to stop you isn't the how-tos. You can Google and find that stuff. Honestly, it's all the stuff up here, all the stuff that that keeps you wanting to just be I'm just going to turn on and binge Netflix right now instead of doing what you really want to be doing in the world, right? So she helps you move through that stuff. Now, she's awesome. She's got all sorts of super cool creative projects she's worked with before. She's launched 3 different businesses. She is co-organizer of No Goddess Left Behind, which is an annual event weekend, which is actually already happened at this point, in the series. And with over 220 women who come and retreat together. She's also co-founder of, or co-creator of, Urban Ceremony, which is a music, mind, body, spirit weekend as well. She's been featured in the New York Post, Shape, Huffington Post, blah, blah, blah. She knows her shit. So welcome, Beth. Happy to have you.
Oh, I love you, Amber. How are you? Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Actually, it's interesting. Just yesterday, I got back from a 3-day silent retreat. So you're one of the first people I've talked to. It's always hard integrating back. It's okay, slowly get out there and talk to people. But it was great. Of course, I can never recommend this stuff more.
I love it. Well, I think, it's interesting because today we're talking about alignment, align with your purpose. And, I just love that you're coming from silent retreat, because I kind of feels like that would be something that's important, is to actually listen. There's so much noise in our world. And I think part of aligning with purpose is really tapping into that silent piece. Yeah. But so here's where I kind of want to start off. When you and I were heartstorming, we were like, okay, what are we going to do for our session? And you were sharing that you help people connect to their purpose and really the stuff that blocks people from that. I was like, yes, because I just know that there's so many women who they've either been this place where they just don't know what they're meant to do, right? And might have been that way for years. Like that was my story. Like I didn't even like I'm like I just want to know what to do. And it wasn't until my 30s that I really got kind of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? But I also know that there are women whose, children have left the home recently, who are retired. It's like almost like their world has like just shifted. And it's like, where am I supposed to land now? And their world has changed. And so I just feel like it's such an important piece to be connecting with. So I'm really excited to dive in and connect with the way that you help us connect into alignment with our purpose. So where do we start there, Beth?
Great. Well, I usually start everything I do with a short meditation, even though we just did the grounding meditation, which I always love. I figured this would be really good to work with the sun's energy during the solstice time, during the summer. And the sun, actually, I've been meditating along with the sun for a couple of years now. And, you can really, I'll guide this, just a short, quick thing, but generally you can use the sun, the energy and the light as a metaphor to really burn away that which doesn't serve us. So really think of it as, it's this power, it's this great, spirit up in the sky that sustains us, that keeps us alive. I mean, it really is the source of everything on this planet. So you can use the sun, and that's what we'll do now. So everybody, if you just close your eyes for a minute and take that same deep breath to ground, and just picture the sun up above. Even if it's cloudy out, even if it's raining, the sun is still out there. And picture the golden light of the sun coming down through your crown chakra at the top of your head and washing all throughout your brain and your head, and washing away any negative thoughts, any fears, any worries, anything that doesn't serve you. And most of our thoughts really just don't serve us. So really anything that's, a thought of I should be doing something else, or what is this, or just use the sun's rays, that golden light, to wash away these thoughts. And then bring the rays down through all your head, your face, your third eye chakra, down into your throat, and really feel the sun's rays washing away any of the stuck energy, anything that's tight and constricted. Maybe your throat feels a little blocked from not speaking your truth. And use the sun's rays to come down into your heart. And that's where we can really use the sun's energy to help melt away any constrictions and fears and issues and challenges that we find so hard sometimes. And just shine the light on those in your heart to help open up your heart more and expand the heart. And then just imagine your heart shining like the sun. Everything that comes from your heart, your desires, your talents, your gifts, your service to others, your art, your creativity, your joy, your laughter, just shine it outward like the sun does every day. And just keep shining it till your heart feels open. And you can really feel this softening and opening. And just keep imagining the golden light right in the center of your heart, shining for the world to take in your gifts and your creative visions, your talents, everything you bring to the earth, because you are unique. You are the only human being on this planet that is you. And you're only here to do one thing, which is to shine this light like the sun, to shine your light to the rest of the world. And you can just wash the rest of this light all down through the rest of your body, through your solar plexus chakra, your sacral chakra, the creativity center, down into your root, and ground it down into the earth. And just keep this light shining from your heart as we go through today's exercise. And really as much as you can every day, because this is why we're here on this planet. So take one final deep breath to come back. And we will begin. So I actually really encourage everybody to work with the sun, especially during this time of year. It's very powerful. I've proven it to be extremely useful, especially during stressful times, challenges, feeling bad, feeling sad, feeling scared, ungrounded. It really helps, melt away these feelings that come into our heart that might keep us in that fear, that state of feeling unsafe. So anyway, so we're gonna dive right in. So as Ember said, I'm Beth Weinstein. I help people tap into their purpose and grow their business so they can really, truly live their purpose and make great money doing work they love from anywhere on earth. So today's workshop is called 3 Simple Steps to Get Unstuck and Start Unleashing Your True Path and Soul's Purpose. And yes, this is something I encounter every day. And like Amber, I went through this myself. I worked in a wonderful corporate job where I was very blessed to learn a lot and get paid well and travel around the world. But, deep inside, I knew that there was something missing. And I know a lot of you are going through this. And like Amber said, it's, not necessarily about your work or your career, but about life changes, transitions, coming into a certain age, children leaving the house, or just this general sense of feeling unfulfilled. So this work that we're going to do today in your journal is going to help you tap into this. And of course, we only have a limited amount of time today, but I encourage you to keep with these practices because these are what will get you there. These are what are going to create this, this opening to receiving information and to really tapping into like, what am I here to do? Or what am I here to do next? Because essentially we're here to evolve and expand just like all of nature. The trees keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, humans are the same way. So I know I hear from a lot of people that they feel unfulfilled or uninspired or really stuck and bored. And they just feel like something's off. They don't even know how to describe it. So, and this is a common occurrence in our world. And, I think of it as a true disease of our planet right now, or at least here in the Western world. People, I understand we all have to make money and live, but then there's this part of us that's here to be creative. We're creative beings. And so many people for so many years push this aside. So, again, this is really just to tap into like, what is deep inside and what needs to come out and bring me to this new level of joy and fulfillment in my life and do something that's really meaningful. And it doesn't have to be saving the world. There's a lot of misbelief around the word purpose and soul's purpose. It doesn't mean that you're out there, saving lives or literally changing the planet, because every little thing that we all do is a change on the planet. Every little, piece of art or writing or, your business or your creative hobbies, anything you put out there in the world is changing the world. So that's one thing I always like to preface all of this saying, let go of the heaviness of finding this one purpose. Because to me, our purpose, it expands and it grows. Like 10 years ago, I thought my purpose was to launch my other business and change the world with that business. But then I actually came into a deeper purpose. And it just keeps going and going. And I'm sure it will keep going. So that's first things first. So the first step in this process I like to start with is this sense of letting go, because, I find so many of my clients come to me that are at this stage where they feel, like ready to take on the next thing or grow their business or start a business or get out of the corporate career. But then there's something really holding them back. And one of the key things I've found over time is there's a lot of past attachments and regrets and anger and these things that we're still holding on to that we actually need to release first in order to start tapping into the next thing. So, and I'm a really big proponent of, like forgiveness meditations, forgiveness mantras, really this whole notion of letting go and forgiving yourself. So I always say, let go of attachments to knowing. So I actually have a client who I love dearly. but she's constantly like, I want to know my purpose, like right now, right now, right now, right now. And she just started this journey literally like 3 or 4 months ago. And it's funny because she's, she is very attached to this, like, I hate my job, I want to find my purpose. But over the last, 4 months of working together, we've really gotten her to this point of, letting go and really being in the present moment. Because that's, I know it's such a cliche to sound, but it's so true that it is the journey, not the destination. So this next exercise is going to get us, really present in this journey. And, another thing, I have another client who is still upset and kind of still angry over having a job not work out, I guess, like being fired or whatever. And, the only way to move forward in her new endeavor is to really let go of that anger and do forgiveness of self. So the first exercise, get your journal, and Amber, you can do this too. Write down, some, and again, I'm really big into, I love your word, by the way, heartstorming, like brainstorming. Just, don't worry about writing complete sentences. Don't worry about how you sound. No one else is reading it, but just jot down words or, triggers like, forgive Joe or whatever. But write down any past regrets or anger that you carry from, let's say old jobs or, again, another client of mine was upset that she actually wanted to be an artist, but her parents encouraged her to go into accounting. So, even without realizing it, we can still hold on to a lot of this anger. Like, I'm so angry at myself that I spent 20 years in a corporate job I hated. Or I'm angry at that one boss for firing me. Or I'm really angry that I wanted to go to art school, but my parents thought that was insane. So, just jot down some things that you feel like you need to release, like angers, regrets, and against yourself and others. And honestly, especially yourself, because this tends to be where a lot of people hold a lot of regrets. Like, you might be like 60 years old and regret, giving up your dreams for your family for the last 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So jot some of those down. And, I always encourage people to go way back, like go back to when you were a kid or a teenager even. Over the years, I've had so many insights into like, oh, that one thing that was said to me as, a 10-year-old when I had dreams, right? Like, I actually have a vivid memory of wanting to be a veterinarian and then helping my mom devein shrimp and being really grossed out by the vein. And then being told, well, you'll never be a veterinarian. And so I gave up that dream right away. And it's okay. I don't think I was meant to be a veterinarian. But, little things like that were said to us over the years can really stick in our energy, in our body, in our consciousness. And, this process of writing and constantly letting go and releasing is the pathway to really being done with that past and moving forward. And yeah, Amber, you can just share maybe a couple things when you're done.
Yeah. So one of them, it's interesting because I teach about art. I feel like my regrets are great because the ones that stood out to me, I'm like, oh yeah, because I talk about them. One was when I was in second grade. I used to love to do. I would draw books. Like I would draw, horse books, and it was like Nancy Drew meets My Little Ponies, right? I was so into it. And then my teacher told me that you could never make money. Like that wasn't a job to be a writer or an artist. And so I stopped, like totally stopped drawing, writing, everything. And so that's one of my regrets that I just took that on, and had to wait 25 years to come back to it, or whatever it was when I came back to it. But that was one. The other one was when I had my babies, and I can see why I did these things, but like I miscarried my first child. And so then when I had Sage, my first, who like I was able to birth him, I was so obsessed with like getting things right because I didn't want to screw up. Like I felt like I'd screwed up with the other one. And so I totally lost myself in that. So that was a big one for me. But and then that led me to my creativity, but that was one. And then I think one of the other ones was that when my mother died, like I threw out like all the things that we used to do together, right? It kind of felt like, we used to, I don't know, we'd go bird watching and horseback riding and like all these things that I was just like, I just needed to close the chapter on everything because it was so painful for me. And so that's a regret I have as well, that I stopped kind of everything that was involved with mom.
Yeah, these stories are, so typical. We hear them all, especially with mothers too. I coach a lot of mothers and I get it. There's so much energy that goes into raising your kids and your family, but then, there's a balance. And I know this has to be part of what you teach, because you can't totally give up yourself and your true light out there in the world just for your family, and then come back to it 20 years later when the kids leave. I know because, my own mom did that too for a while. And thankfully she's totally refound her, her career, creativity, and then stopped her career. Now it's all creative, but yeah. And some other things, because we don't have all the time to do all of this, but some other things that I really suggest to people that help this process, in addition to constantly writing regrets, and it's an ongoing thing to write this, but also daily meditation. I'm a huge fan of. It helps quiet down fears and actually does do a lot of releasing. It also helps you tap in your intuition, inner voice a lot better. And generally, for those that are disbelievers altogether, I just say, yeah, it helps you manifest. To put it in the easy terms. So another things you can do that I also think is a really good release is actually physically purging and clearing out your space. Go and clear out your home, donate goods, get rid of things. If there's clothes you haven't worn, really, this process I've done it now 3 years in a row, and then I did a major purge a few months ago, and it's amazing. And it's amazing how much actually starts coming back to you when you purge. It's all part of the process.
Totally. I coach my clients to the same thing. I've had one time I cleaned out my whole art studio, and the very next day I had a call from someone to do a VIP experience, and it ended up being like a $5,000 sale altogether. But it was like, yes, let go of things to make space for the new. Let's do that.
Totally. It's proven itself to me too. Every time I purge, I have incredible manifestations instantaneously. So yes, it's another great benefit. Okay, so the second exercise is all about tapping into your why. And I'm sure everybody here has heard about, what is your why? What is your why? There's a famous TED Talk about, finding your why. But it is just a really good term. So I'm going to use it too. But I truly believe that every soul on this planet has a reason to come here. And it's the whole, we're here to evolve and grow and really, like I said, share your light, share that sunlight from your heart. And your heart really leads the way. Whether we think our brain does or not, it's not really true. It's our desires, our intentions, are what lights us up every day. So this next one's really to tap into that on a deeper level, because I know everybody is aware of what makes them feel good and what makes them happy. It's just, I think some people forget a lot, or they, aren't okay really tapping into that all the time. Because again, our Western society especially has been taught, that we're not here to just be happy. We're here to work hard and make money and check a list and pay the bills and then die. But, if we all just lived in this following the joy and following these golden nuggets and really did everything that lit us up, and, there is a way to create your life and make money doing this. So, this is kind of the idea. And again, I could talk about this for hours, but so one of the first exercises, and I say this to people a lot, is, if money and time wasn't an issue, truly, if money didn't exist anymore, and, all we had to do was put something out there. Like you couldn't just be getting massages all day and laying around in the sun. You had to actually do something. What is it that you would be doing? Like, and I hate to use the word work even, because we in our Western society, we all associate work with making money. And, it's not always the case. It could be, growing food or farming or doing art, making music, producing something, like, bringing a creative action to life, whether it's being a business coach or being an artist, it doesn't matter. It's just something. So if you could do anything, what would it be? Like, what lights you up the most when you're not, at a desk job that you hate, or, where are your passions? Where do you feel the most in flow? Like when I first discovered it, first of all, I make jokes that I'm actually doing now what I dreamed about doing when I was 7. It just took me, what is that, 32, 34 years to figure that out. But what really gets you into that space where time flies and you forget what you're supposed to be doing and you're just in flow and you feel really good. And so just connect again with that heart when you do this writing exercise. And when you do this, more and more on your own, I always encourage people, I have clients that do this. I say do it as a daily practice, especially if you're feeling really stuck and really like lost. Like even, 4 minutes a day of, what is it that I would do all the time if I could? What is it that makes me feel the most happy? But also, really tapping into this feeling you get in your heart. Like, I have a client that's like, I love horses. Horses really make me feel so grounded and at peace with, my life. And she's actually a therapist. So now she's creating, like how to integrate horses in her therapy practice, same with art, she loves art and she loves this women's work. So it's like, how do you integrate this into your day to day? And another thing, another question to ponder when doing this is really asking yourself, do you truly enjoy your life right now? Like, I make jokes that my life is magic all the time because it really feels like it is. Like 95% of the time, it's like magic, magic, magic. Even when things are challenging or bad, like I hate using the word bad, but because I'm so tapped into that and I really, try to lead with the heart all the time, that I really encourage you to question, like, what is it that truly brings me to this heart space the most versus, the day-to-day grind of life or the empty feeling, like what's leaving me empty. And think about where could you create more of that joy and happiness, even in your day-to-day, mundane life, like doing the dishes and cleaning the house and driving the kids. Like there are ways to find so much fulfillment and joy in these day-to-day things. So, think about that too. Like where could you bring excitement and joy to these things? So yeah, Amber, if you have anything to share.
Yeah, so one of them is writing fantasy fiction novels for women that are all about powerful women, because I'm like obsessed with giant fantasy novels, and like up until recently, like all the main characters have always been men, right? There's a movement happening now, and there are a lot of women that are changing that. So that's been one. That's one of mine. And then I also have like what I do now, which is like painting, leading, retreats with women that are creative and spiritual in nature. So,
Awesome.
So it's like, it goes back and forth. Like one is like alone time, which I think is interesting for artists and creatives. There's something about like the like being quiet and alone still. Like there's something that I deeply crave that. And I'm also deeply crave connecting and making a difference for other people too. And I can't do that all in my own little cave, or at least not the way that I want to do it. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Another, so other things just to add on top of this that people can do outside of this, and I find it's funny. I have a few clients where I've had to actually prescribe this. Just go have fun. Like literally, I know people use the weekends and the time off for errands and family and, taking care of things, but there's a way to actually just schedule in like one part of your day per week to make it you time, to really just go explore and have fun or do something different, like go to a museum or go see an art show, just anything that kind of gets those juices flowing again. Because I feel like so many people get just caught up in the day to day, including myself. Like I love work, so essentially I could work all the time, but I make sure I go out into nature, go for walks, go connect with other people, but really have fun. And and rewrite these things, prayers, intentions, letting go, these thoughts. If you don't do a daily practice, at least I encourage you to use the moon cycles. I like the new moon to do this writing, because then you have a regular practice where you're recommitting, and it's not just like once a year or twice a year during Amber's retreats or once a year during New Year's. It's really, regular. This whole journey into tapping into our purpose or tapping into our next steps is really an ongoing process until death. I mean, everybody hears these stories of like 90-year-olds taking up a new hobby. So I have a reading list. I always encourage people, if you haven't read it yet, read The Surrender Experiment. That's an amazing book to get some inspiration.
What's it called again? The Surrender Experiment?
The Surrender Experiment. Oh my God, if you haven't read it, it's amazing. But it's a great story, and it's super quick and easy. And it's just such an inspiration on how someone kind of just accidentally found their soul's path by following joy. Okay, so the third exercise is all about getting uncomfortable and curious. So usually I say uncomfortable, but I love the word curious. And, in a way, they kind of go hand in hand. So as you've all probably heard, the magic is really on the other side of fear. And it's true. And, again, if you fall into this rhythm of day-to-day life, week to week, the rhythm of work and family and duties and taking care of things, sometimes we just get stuck in that, and we haven't had time to get curious outside of our comfort zone. So this next exercise is about exploring this. Like, where is it that we can do new things and do things that might make us a little uncomfortable? So I always say, this is why I prescribe things like go to a museum or an art show, go take a class in something you've always wanted to learn, like a pottery or art class. Or one of my clients is like, oh, I've always wanted to do this calligraphy thing. And I'm like, yes, go do it. Just to, it doesn't mean this is going to be your next career. It just means you're opening up these passageways, these doors. And it's actually, it's a neuroscience, it's firing up new neurons that haven't been fired before or haven't been fired in a long time, actually stimulates these new things going on in our brain that will tap us into, like, oh, wait a second, I'm seeing things in a whole new light. It's like reaching a new perspective. So I also say talk to 5 new people a week. And if that's a lot, okay, just make it 2 or 3. But really reaching out to new people and connecting with people is really a doorway into finding, to learning more, finding out what's next, to really, again, all of this is about getting out of our patterns and our comfort zones and trying new things and opening up doors to potentials. Like, okay, before I met Amber, I didn't even know that there were women leading these amazing art retreats, all over the world. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I would love to go on one of those. So, it's like it opened up something in my brain that made me think like, oh, actually, I would love to send my mom on something like this. And, and then I think about, wait a second, I used to paint when I was 17. I haven't painted in, all those years. Maybe I should take it up again, So, and this is why I prescribe these kind of exercises. So write in your journal 2 things. The first is, what is it that you've been wanting to do, but you've been putting off trying or been putting off doing? For example, class or learning something new, or getting back to, another one of my clients used to write when she was younger. And now at the age of, like late 40s, she's like, you know what, I actually really love writing, but I just haven't had time to. And the reality is she just hasn't made time to. So it's about helping her get onto that path of like, wait a second, let me tap back into that part of myself that's it's never left, that childlike aspect of our inner essence and our inner being that wants to create is always there. So what is it that you've either been putting off or thinking of doing? Like my thing right now is I want to take up rock climbing, and I'm like almost there. So yeah, so it's like I already know a place. I just need to go book a day and go try rock climbing and see if I love it. Hopefully I will. And then also, what is it you dream of? Like dream of trying out. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, see, I'm one of these people. If I think of something of trying, I'll usually just go do it. But people that, like, for example, when I launched one of my other businesses, I sat on the dream for 8 years. I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And it didn't seem real until I started meeting other people that did similar things. And I was like, wait a second, that person did it. I can too. I actually know more about how to do that. So that's why I prescribe these, this heart storming. And then also write down the names of 10 people you would like to meet or connect with. And I really encourage you to dream, right? So I've been doing this exercise for, I can't even count now, 15 years or so. And I've had, like something will just come across my radar. Well, I'll see one example I use, there's this company and I really loved what they were doing. And, I knew they were based in the same city I lived in New York. And I was like, I'm not kidding. I reached out to one person. I was like, hey, do you happen to know anyone at this company? And it was kind of a big company, actually. It was like, I don't know, at the time, a couple hundred people. And next thing you know, he sends me an email and introduces me to the CEO of that company. So there I was meeting like the founder of this company just by asking one person. And I just asked him some questions, like got him on the phone, picked his brain, and just like, how'd you get started on this? Because I thought it was the coolest business ever. And it was also something I had an interest in. So just those things, like, or, another one of my clients is talking about, she wants to start a bed and breakfast. So I was like, okay, spend the weekend at a bed and breakfast and go talk to the person in charge and just ask them questions, like things like that. Or an artist that you really admire, you see on the internet, you can just, shoot them an email, reach out. Like everybody's pretty contactable these days. Either on Facebook or their website usually has an email. And I've been doing this for, like I said, 15 years. And I think I've only had one person ever say, no, they didn't have time to talk to me. And that was this really busy, like venture capital investor guy. So it was fair. But, if you just ask people like, hey, I really love what you're up to. I've done this with like things that I'm not even interested in, business wise, but like, a new food product, for example, I found that I was like, wow, this is a great product. Let me talk to the founder. I'm curious what her story is, and it's like, hey, I love your product. I'm so glad you're making this. How'd you get started? And then it's like, that just opens these doors to really seeing, first of all, it's so inspirational to hear everybody else's stories. And, but it really opens up more doors than you can ever imagine. Like sometimes, like the last time this happened to my client, she was offered a job. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, or connections, or they'll want to introduce you to someone else, or they'll, actually recently I found this, I know this is ridiculous, but I found a natural deodorant that I loved. And I wrote them a review, and I just wrote them an email saying, oh my God, I've been looking for a natural deodorant for so many years, and this is the best one. So the last time I placed an order, she sent me a whole bunch of free stuff with it just because she knew I was this big fan. And it's like just a girl in her house somewhere in upstate New York, So that's why I really, keep doing this on your own. I know I've been talking a lot, but I really like to explain like why I do this. Because the first time someone told me to talk to people, I didn't really understand why. But I've seen so much magic from it. And it's honestly, there's nothing like the human connection. Like, you can sit there inside on the internet and like market or whatever, do whatever, but there's nothing like reaching out and connecting with new people. So Amber, anything you want to share?
Well, I love that piece there. I think it's such a deeper lesson than the getting uncomfortable piece about the connecting. I feel like spirit has made us so that we have to connect with it. It's like, I feel like that's in our DNA, like a desire for belonging and a desire for connection and for love. And that it would make sense to me that purpose is tied to that in some way, that like that the way that we're meant to be on the planet is to create more of that, right? It's almost like co-creation with spirit, that side of it. So I loved that piece when you were talking about that. And then it was fun just to start to be like, oh, who would I want to connect with? To dream a little bit on that, those sides. Yeah. So I have a list of so far 3 names. I'm going to go gangbusters when I'm not like thinking, on here anymore. But yeah, that's been really fun. Oh, I just had another one pop in my head.
Yeah, like I reached out to Marianne Williamson once. Granted, she didn't write me back, but I was like, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? I actually followed up like 3 times too, but you know what I mean? Like, but then every once in a while you'll get someone writing you back or someone willing to meet with you or, just again, magic, it's, I agree with you completely. And here's the thing is I know it's uncomfortable for most people to reach out to strangers. As much as I love people, it still can get like, it's kind of freaky, but I agree. It's part of the process. It's stepping out of our comfort zone to start letting in these new, I always call it magic because it really feels like magic. Like magic just comes. Like all of a sudden something will come, or they'll introduce you to someone, or like that's why I say stay curious throughout this. It's this art of being curious and kind of unattached to the results of anything. Because the more you just put yourself out there and get uncomfortable and just, come from the heart when you say something to them or when you try something new, that's when I agree. This is the process of co-creation. This is when the universe starts giving back to you. It's like all of a sudden you'll just make like a best friend that way.
I can totally see this too, because it allows, I feel like so much of life, even when I'm working with my clients, is like, we only see this much possibility, right? And by opening up to new options, it's like, boom, there's so much more. So like, there might be like the perfect thing, like right here, but you can't see it because you're like, la, 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 just doing the path that you know to do. And so I love that this is part of your step to aligning with purpose is getting uncomfortable, but almost it's like allowing room for spirit, frankly. It's like, there's more than you know. And so let's just like, let that go, that you have to like know what you're doing, and let someone else, let the big kahuna in the sky, whatever you want to, say, let that help you align. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's one last thing. So it's not an exercise. There's just one last thing that I find it was one of the most transformative shifts that was ever said to me that helped me along my path was 2 things. One, to let go of the attachment to any of this. So whether or not you want to make it into a business or make money from it or sell your artwork or, start a business and make money and live off of it, of course, that's what I help people do. But this is one of the first things I teach is to let go of this attachment, because I find if you just allow it, and sometimes I even use the language, a different language, like call it a project versus a business, or, put it out there without the intention to sell. And if someone buys it, great. But, it brings up so much of the limiting beliefs and the fears and the attachments and the clinging and the neediness when you have all this attachment to, like money, and how will this look, and how's it going to turn out, or what if it fails? If you're stuck in that mind space, it won't come out the same way. So that's one of the first things to do is just pretend it's all, not pretend, but like really feel that it's truly just for the joy of doing it. Like, paint for the joy of painting. Don't paint to sell it. If you sell it, great. So that's one thing. And then also declaring your intentions to the universe. And again, this brings up the same, being uncomfortable, but really, if you're thinking about starting something new, or even, taking up an art or a creative, creative practice, like putting your writing out there. Like the client of mine that wants to come back to writing is like, oh, but no one knows I write, and I was like, okay, it's okay. If you just start saying it, like putting it into the universe little by little, like, for example, when I started my clothing company, I was really afraid of people knowing, but I started telling close friends first and people I trusted first, and then told people that run around me because it's the running clothing line. And then eventually it just got easier and easier. But the more of you putting it out there, like into words, into being, into form, like I am an artist, I am a writer, I am an entrepreneur, I have my own business, that's really this huge signal to the universe that you're stepping into this role. So, once you've kind of tapped into that soul's purpose, start saying it, start putting it into form.
Yeah, I had to practice in front of the mirror when I first started becoming an artist, right? I'd like look in the mirror, I'm like, okay, I am an artist. I'm an artist. I'm an artist, right? So I was like, I would do it over and over and over again. And I remember that when someone asked what I did, I was like, I am an artist. Like, it was like I practiced, and so it came out, but it was, I had to actually practice. I couldn't just say it. It felt like such a block for me. So I love that piece of declaring it. So I declared it to my mirror before I declared it to anyone else. So.
That's great. Yes, that's actually a very good exercise.
Yeah.
Just declare it to yourself first.
This has been awesome. So we had align with your purpose. We had the 3 different steps. We had letting go. We talked about how it's the journey, not the destination, letting go of past regrets, letting go of like forgivenesses. You gave us different ideas and ways to let go, including daily meditation, releasing and purging your things. We talked about step 2, really connecting to your why, and then following your joy. And so I love some of those inquiry questions you gave us, including like the one is like, if money doesn't exist and you had to produce something, like what would you do? I love that because that opens up to like all those excuses are the reasons why we can't do it. So I love that. Also the connection to schedule in some fun, and your book recommendation, The Surrender Experiment. And then this last one about step 3, getting uncomfortable, AKA curious. So ways to open new doors, including, things that you've been wanting to do that you haven't done before, things you've been putting off, or things you've dreamed of trying out. And then that piece of like talking to 5 new people a week and like writing down your list of people that you want to connect with in order to really open up, so that, in the end, it's really letting go of any expectation and just like letting it flow, that piece, as well as like the declaration. So here's my notes from our session.
Oh, beautiful.
I can't wait to see it. Everybody else's notes in here, but thank you so much, Beth. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I know. I'm like, I love this, and I love what you're doing, and I love your community. It's amazing.
I love my community too. I love you, community. I love you. So here's what we want to do next is in the Facebook group, I would love for you to share. There's so many different things that we did here, but why don't we go with like, what is that thing that you've been wanting to do that you've been putting off, right? That piece. Or actually, no, let's not do that one. Let's do the one I liked even better, which was the one of like, if money was no object and if you had to produce something, like what would you do? Like, that's what I actually want to know, because that's like where the heart is, I think. And so share that in the Facebook group. You can share your notes, any ideas you have, and let's cheer each other on to like support you to just to do what feels inspiring and that feels aligned for you. So that's our sharing in the Facebook group. And then Beth, I know that you also have a gift for our women who are like in this process right now, ways to continue along. So I would love for you to share some of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Amber. So my free gift is called My Simple Step-by-Step Process to Release Your Fears, Stop Procrastination, and Start Taking Actions to Build Your Dream Business Now. And even if you don't want a business, it still applies to taking on any kind of project. I just specialize in business, but it's very similar steps, and whether it's project or money, it doesn't matter. It's really about, taking action and getting movement and stopping fear from holding you back and keeping that procrastination from paralyzing you, because that's essentially what happens to so many of us. We just live in this contracted fear state, and then years and years and years go by and we're like, oh, I have to get going on this. I can't live like this anymore. So I'm on a mission, just like Amber is, to really help you unleash this out into the world.
Awesome. So yes, because here's part of the deal is like, you may know what you want to do, and like you're like, this is all nice, Amber, but, and so those buts are what her free gift is going to help you with, like those things that are going to block you, those the buts. And so let's get you moving through those things that you can, like tapping into those things that bring you juice, that bring you joy. So you can click on the link below here and you can find Beth's free gift and connect with her. So thank you so much, Beth. This has been
awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Amber. It was so great to be here.
Yay! All right, beauties. So I will see you on the next session. See you in the Facebook group, and keep unleashing just one bit at a time. Aloha.
Thanks. Bye.